Hey everyone, so over the weekend, I was on LinkedIn kind of browsing around and I saw this really long post of a person who had made a phone call to a VP of sales, and the VP of sales got really mad at her for cold calling her and stuff like that. And it was interesting because she had posted about it and was kind of wondering how a VP of sales got to where they were at without cold calling. And so I thought it was kind of interesting. And I went down and read the comments and noticed all these positive comments. And of course, there are some people against cold calling and whatnot. But it sort of sparked my interest in doing this video today and focusing on cold calling. So that's what we're going to go over today. We're going to go over a cold calling script that I've used in the past for my former agency and that we've used really successful for my other business. And I'll kind of walk you through the fundamentals of that cold calling script. We've adapted it from Sandler sales training, actually, so I can't take full credit for it. We adapted this from Sandler sales and used it pretty successfully. So it's a pretty good script. It's a no pressure cold call, as I mentioned, and it flows really well and helps kind of drive conversions and whatnot. So let's get into it. First of all, my name is Patrick Spielman. I'm the founder of Upticks. We help B2B sales teams launch and automate outbound prospecting campaigns, lead nurturing, and stay insanely productive with our sales automation platform, Upticks. So let's get into it. All right, so here's the no pressure cold call script. I have it saved in Upticks just to keep it as a template as we, for our copywriting generator. Basically, we have a copywriting generator, and I'll link down below in the description, a link to that, which helps you write some LinkedIn campaign, sales copy, cold calling, this cold calling script that'll help generate, and a video prospecting script. So I'll link down below, but I've got some tokens in here to make the process for us a little bit easier. And we also have some automation within the platform where you can set up basically a similar wizard. So you can fill out the answers within Upticks in our platform, and it'll propagate throughout the platform and update email templates and sequences and all that kind of stuff. So that's our effort to kind of make our system a lot easier to set up and implement than other platforms. So you'll see some of these tokens, but let's get into it. Start kind of at the top, work our way down. So obviously, you're kind of going to start out, and let's just say your prospect answers the phone. You're going to ask them, "Hey, is this?" And I'll use my name. Is this Patrick? And you want to use the prospect's first name only. You don't want to say, their first and last name and their company name. It sounds just too businessy. And so you kind of want to approach this as if, you know them and stuff like that. So just use their first name, and you want to wait for a response. And, they're probably going to say yes. If they say no, then, obviously you're in a different situation. So we'll go throughout this script as if, the person actually said yes. And then you go ahead and say, "Hey, this is Patrick. Does that name sound familiar?" And they're probably going to say no, more than likely, because they're like, "Okay, who's Patrick?" Not really sure. And you could put in Patrick with, or your name with your company name. You could say, "Hey, this is Patrick with Upticks. Does that name sound familiar?" And you could try different versions of that. You could just use the name. You could use the name with the business name and see kind of what response you're getting the best out of. But there's a little bit of something to be said about a little mystery behind it. They're just kind of thinking like, no. So they're, divulging too much, early on can, make somebody want to walk away. So from there, they're probably going to likely say no. And you're just going to say something to the effect, "That's okay, no worries. I didn't think you would. Hey, prospect first name, do you have 60 seconds for me to tell you why I'm calling?" And this is really intentional right here, especially the 60 seconds part. Some people want to use like, "Hey, do you have 1 minute? Do you have, a quick minute, 2 minutes," stuff like that. 60 seconds kind of reduces the barrier to entry as it's stated in seconds versus minutes. So that's really intentional part. And then obviously, you want to continue on. You say, "Hey, at the end, you can decide if you want to talk for another 5 minutes or hang up." This is also another intentional thing. Hanging up is like you're kind of giving the power to the prospect, but you're setting like an upfront expectation with them that, hey, if they want to decide to keep on talking. We're going to talk for another 5 minutes. And so the script here is going to end at that right before that 5-minute meeting, or we'll go into maybe the first paragraph or something like that. But you want to set that upfront expectation with them so they know kind of what their time investment might be if they are interested. So obviously, if the prospect says, yep, yeah, I've got 60 seconds, then you want to continue with, this black bolded part here. And if they say no, you just want to ask them, you want to keep it short and sweet. You don't want to be a pushy salesperson. You just want to say, hey, yeah, not a problem. When's a better time to talk? And you're going to get a sense, obviously, if they don't want to talk to you at all, or if they say, if they give you a day or time or something like that, then you just kind of want to confirm from there. But that's where you're just going to kind of have to use a little bit of flexibility within your approach and stuff like that to address whatever they answer with. So we're going to assume that they say, yeah, I got 60 seconds here. So you want to just reiterate at that point, as I said, my name is Patrick with Upticks, and then you want to talk about, you say, I work with, contacts in the specific industry that you work in. So let's just say you're cold calling a restaurant, and you want to put here, hey, I work with bar and restaurant owners. And then you want to insert your, so that is kind of your target market. So bar and restaurants would be the industry, and then owner, or maybe it's the general manager or whoever it might be, you want to insert as your target market. So that's going to be your target prospect. So, hey, I work with bar and restaurant owners who are typically happy with, and then you're going to insert a couple of these, 2 to 3 of these, but you're going to insert what your prospect doesn't think is an issue in their business that you solve. So for instance, our prospects for like Upticks, for instance, probably don't think that, their current sales process or the way that they're managing their sales process, especially like scaling it up and automating and stuff like that. Most people don't really think that that's a problem, but it's something we solve. So in our instance would be, hey, we work with owners who are typically happy with their existing sales process and the way they're managing and nurturing their leads. And so we'd throw a couple of those examples in there. So you want to give a few different examples, maybe 3 max. Otherwise, your call is going to get a little bit too long. So I could say, their current sales process and, the way that they're managing and nurturing their leads or managing their sales staff. And then you want to ask them, are any of these the case for you? Because they're probably going to agree that that they're happy with the way they're managing those 2 things. Because that's really what you're asking them. You're asking them if they're happy with the way they're managing those 2 things that you mentioned. But you still solve those 2 things. They don't know it yet, but you do solve them. And so they're likely going to say yes. If they say no, I'm not happy with that stuff, then you're in a pretty good position and you can, move on with the call. And, obviously this is going to be a prospect that's, probably a little bit, hotter lead for you. And nonetheless, you still want to continue the call. And when they say yes, you just say, okay, figured. So, at the same time, those clients are still concerned about, and then we want to insert a couple things that your prospect does think your prospects usually think are an issue in their business that you solve. So, another example for us for Upticks for example, would be, our customers still want to be able to nurture and generate more leads and more sales appointments for their business and increase their company revenues. So it'd be something to that effect. So you gotta understand what things that most of your customers are really interested in the things that are like, I'm good on that. So you kind of have to differentiate, what your average customer typically, doesn't think is an issue and then does think is an issue, and how that can tie into how you solve that with your product or service. So these are done pretty intentionally here. Okay. So 2 to 3 examples here, you're probably going to hit, as long as you know your customer base really well, you're probably going to hit some sort of a hot button here, right? As long as your prospect is the type of prospect for what you do that is, interested in a solution to fixing those things. Okay. So then you want to transition, I know you're happy, but are any of these things, or do any of these things sound familiar to you? And, they're likely going to say yes. If they say no, they might be a little bit colder of a lead. You might need to get them to open up a little bit. So you might have to dig in a little bit. And you're going to transition then into, is there one of those that I just mentioned that you've experienced or you're concerned about? And then let them pick an option. So of these 2 or 3 examples here, hey, are you more worried about generating leads? Are you more worried about booking more sales appointments? Are you more worried about, growing your revenue, right? So those are 3 options. So they're going to pick an option. And you're going to say something like, I'm surprised you said that. Most people mention, and then you want to pick another one of the options that your customers or clients, are typically, most concerned with. And this is a little bit sleight of hand, but what we're doing is we're kind of trying to validate and raise a few more concerns within the things that you solve with them, because you still know that they're issues for them. But, we just kind of want to heighten the sense of some of the things that you can solve. But you don't want to be completely dishonest. You want to make sure that these are really things that, your customers are actually really concerned about. From there, we're pretty much getting to the end of the script here, because at the beginning, if you remember, we were only going to take 60 seconds of their time. So at this point, we shouldn't be going over that. We want to make sure we've built trust with the prospect and that we're really respecting their time, because at the end of the day, this is a cold call. We're interrupting their day and we want to be very respectful of their time. All right. So you're going to transition to say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, I have a problem and I need your help. It sounds really, really weird to say, really weird. And you and your sales reps are probably going to feel really uncomfortable saying it until you do it a lot. But there's a specific reason for that. And the reason is that you want to be able to solve a problem together with your prospect. You're going to build a little bit of rapport and kind of strengthen a bond and build a little bit of trust with each other by doing this and solving a problem together. So then you're going to say, I said I'd only take 60 seconds and I'm out of time. I want to make sure I honor that. Would you be interested in chatting for 5 more minutes, or would you like to schedule another time? So here's where we're setting that upfront expectation with them, and we're being really transparent that, hey, here's your out, or do you want to keep chatting? So the choice is really theirs. Okay. If they say, no, I'm pretty busy at the moment, then, you just want to transition and say, hey, I completely understand. Is there time I can call you back, and continue our conversation, or book a quick, 15-minute meeting, 30-minute meeting, whatever you want to insert there. If that's the case, just try to book a meeting with them, get a little bit more dedicated time, because again, we are interrupting their day. So, they could be driving, they could be anywhere, they could be in the office, they might have to run to a meeting. And so we don't want to assume that they have that you have their full attention. We don't want to assume that their full attention's there. So we don't want to really do too much selling on this call. We really just want to get a meeting. Okay. If they do have time, we want to set a new upfront contract with the prospect. This is a Sandler sales technique. Setting that upfront contract is, talking about the fact that, hey, we're going to chat for 5 more minutes. And, I want to take the opportunity for you to ask me some questions. I'll ask you some questions. And at that point, we can decide if it makes sense to meet in person or, meet over a Zoom call, or however you meet with your customers. And then you just want to ask them how that sounds. All right. So as long as they're okay with moving forward in that 5 minutes, you're going to transition kind of into just a quick elevator pitch. And I've got a little framework here. So, you're just going to say real quick, hey, I specialize in helping, restaurant and bar owners and then insert the problem that you help them solve. And then you want to insert the desired result that you get for them. And then transition to your proprietary method that you use. So this is going to help them identify with who you work with, the problem that you help them solve, and the desired result, and or benefit they're getting and the proprietary method that only you can help get them results. So, if you're say a insurance person, for instance, if you're selling insurance, if you just tell somebody, oh yeah, I'm insurance broker, you're not really saying anything that's standing out against any of your competition. So you want to have a proprietary way that you do it. So it could be an acronym, it could be a strategy, a method, whatever it might be. Make it specific to you so that you don't just say, I help them through disability insurance or life insurance. You don't just want to say really generic stuff like that because they've heard all that before. You want to get something that's going to pique their interest and something that's really specific to you. Then just transition. You want to transition at that point after your quick little elevator into a question for them. So could you tell me a little bit about your business and if you've struggled with, and then insert, a problem that you help them solve. Okay. So whatever it might be, whatever problem you help them solve, just try to get them to open up a little bit at this point and, start to talk about their problems and stuff like that. You want them to do most of the talking here. Okay. The more listening you can do at this point, the better. You really want them to open up. If you can get, not just one problem, but 2 problems, 3 problems, and get them to talk about that a lot more, they might even vent to you a little bit. And by doing that, they're actually going to feel really good about themselves and feel good about the conversation that they had with you. And the fact that you weren't a pushy salesperson, you respected their time, you solved a problem together already earlier in the script up here, and be a little bit more trusting in that, you could help them solve that. So at this point, the script, I don't have a script to continue with this, but basically what you want to do, you want to build rapport. Your goal here is to book a meeting with your prospect. At the end of the day, this call is not for selling your product. This call is to build trust with your prospect and buy-in and get them to open up about their problems and challenges and struggles that they might be having with whatever it is that you provide. Okay. So again, do not try to sell on this call. Your 15-second elevator pitch here is enough. Okay. If you get to the point where, they're giving you pressure about, divulging too much about your product or your service, it's usually best to, transition into just trying to book a call and to say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, I really wasn't even expecting that you were going to answer. As you can imagine, when I make these phone calls, I don't get through to a lot of people. And so what I'd like to do to be the most prepared I can possible is really to just set up a quick call. We both can be in the mindset and ready to kind of dive into this stuff and get the most, out of that call as possible. So, can we set up a quick 15-minute, 30-minute call, whatever it might be. So you really just want to transition to scheduling a meeting. Because again, you weren't expecting them more than likely, because most of the time you're not going to get a hold of them. But this can be really, really effective if done right when you do get a hold of them. And the other side is your prospect was likely interrupted, and they could be running errands, doing all sorts of things, having a meeting, having a bad day, whatever it might be. We do not want to sell on this call. You want to sell on the next official meeting that we set up. So this is the no pressure cold call script. If you want access to this, down below in the description, I've got a link for our Copywriting Wizard. It not only gives you this, it gives you the some cold emailing templates. It's a plug and play wizard. So you answer some questions and it inserts your answers into all of our cold emails, our LinkedIn collateral with headlines, your About Me page. It writes for LinkedIn. It writes your connection message. It writes a bunch of follow-up messages. It writes this cold calling script, and it writes like a video prospecting script. So this is just one piece to it, but I'll link down below. Additionally, this is housed in our Upticks platform, and it actually populates all of your outreach messages and stuff like that, or a lot of them, to really get you going and set up in the platform really, really quickly. So if you like this video, I'd really appreciate if you subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you can get an alert every time we launch a new video. I try to do 5 new videos a week. And if you really like the video, I'd love for you to check out not only our Copywriting Wizard down below, but check out Upticks, our sales automation platform. You can get started absolutely free. Check us out. The link's down below in the description. And again, hope you found this valuable, and we'll see you in the next one.